you've got your rotors are all different shapes and sizes now. And everybody asked about the wind loads. That's some of them right there, the high gains on the wind loads and the turning torques and stuff. And so you can see your different antennas that came down here, the Yazoo too, and compare them to the high gain. And then you got, so you can see the difference in the wind loads and everything. The tail twister will take up to 20 square feet. And and then the 40, that's your little smaller TV rotor. The 45, which is just exactly like that one. And the ham-M. The ham-M have increased a lot. The 4 is 15, the 3 was 12.5, and the original ham-M was under 10 square feet. So you can see the difference. They've increased the ham-M sizes of the rotors and everything. So everybody asked about a lot on the wind loads and the turning torques and stuff like that, and the braking. So you can get these charts like that out there and see your difference in your rotors and stuff. That's how, tells the new 2000, the higher grade ones. Channel Master, which is still to get your TV rotors, and Alpha Spade, that's your worm gear ones and everything. They turn off a lot of power. That's what some of your high gain HDR 300s, your M squares, your the new one out that DX Engineering has got that Alpha Spade type thing in it. And everybody asks on your rotors where to put them in your tower. The only thing is you want the furthest down to get. There's a little chart here I go by. I got this off of Tower Talks. I guess I didn't get it in there. But Tower Talks, I got it, talks about that. And they want you to put it in just as far as you can go, because it takes that twist off your towers. If I can find it here. I thought I had it on my slides, but it didn't come out. But they want it down as far. I've got mine in my big tower with my HF stuff down to the first 10-foot section of Moran 55. But they say at least 3 meters is what Tower Talk. I got it off of Tower Talk. If you ever go back in and read all the stuff on Tower Talk, but they wanted at least 3 meters or below that, because you get up here on these towers, you get a lot of twist and torque in that wind. Your tower takes it more than the rotor. So you put it down more, and then it takes a lot of that twist out, because the only twist you're going to get is right up here above this, in here, just to play in the rotor. But if you don't have it, especially in your self-supporting towers, you'll get a lot of twist and torque up there, and that just weakens that tower more and more. So you want to get all that twist out, so you lower that down. And especially if you run these ham-M's and stuff without the brake delay. When that brake stops, it clicks in, and when you release it, you get that delay in there and you get 5 seconds. So that gives that antenna rotor enough time to stop before that brake hits. You get these without the brake, and then you got that twist and that brake in there. So that you got a lot of that play. So that's why I always put mine down, so it takes that shaking out of that tower, and you don't have a lot of that rocking. Here, with these types of antenna towers right here and everything, you get a lot of this with it. So that's why these extra bearings come in a lot of play with that and everything. But you can get that twist in there, rocking and rolling like that with the mast in there. So it's better to have it down here. And everybody always asks, well, how do you take these rotors off, the coaxes and everything, so they work without twisting around? What I do is I take it and I tape it right above the bearing. And use the good Scotch electrical tape. Don't go out to Harbor Freight and buy the cheap plastic tape and everything, because it will not hold up. What I do is when I go up here, I found out through the years and everything is to, instead of just taking that up and just wrapping it around, eventually that heat's gonna pull the coaxes down. I take it and I wrap that coax up first, take a few wraps of electrical wire and put it up there and then tape it to the pipe and everything. So that way you don't have this coming down this way. And then I come in with a loop. And I make that loop big enough to where it'll come across the whole length of that tower like that, the width of it. So I know I've got enough to go around this way and enough to go around this way, and then I tape it down here the same way. And as I go down the tower, I still tape that coax around this place so it won't pull. And if you use zip ties are good to use in between your tape so you don't have to use your whole roll of tape up. And just use the black zip ties and everything. The black is good for the UV resistance, so they last a lot longer than the other different colors. And that's the best way to tape your rotor and stuff down the length of your coax. Use a zip tie in between your tape and everything. Because I know the weight of that coax, I've got 3 antennas, so you know 213 coaxes running down the side of your tower weighs a lot. And I got a hazer on my RON 25, and what I did with it to run it down, since that hazer raises up and lowers on the tower like the elevator type thing, I use a 1/8 inch steel cable, and I run it from the plate of the rotor down to the tower and tie it off at the bottom. And I zip tie all my coaxes and rotor wires to that line. They call that a messenger line. And that's how I do all my length coming down off my hazer down to take all that weight off of hanging. Just put it on that cable. And on my RON 55, I've got another messenger line that runs from it over to my 25. And I've just used those carabiners, those cheap carabiners. I just run it along there and I just run my coax and rotor wire all the way over to the other tower and then into my shaft that way. So it takes all that weight hanging off. So I just use them carabiners on an 1/8 inch steel cable between 2 towers and run it in the shaft that way. So it takes a lot of weight and it looks a lot better and everything than that coax trying to hang off the towers and everything. But you got a lot of different type of rotors that came out. We can see here. And these are interesting when you go see these contesting station towers. And a guy's got like 10 or 15 acres and he's got 4 or 5 of them towers. And you walk in to see the pictures of the shacks as you've seen them. And they just got walls of radios. People sitting here and here and here and running all the different frequencies, CW and sideband and stuff. So they got a lot of antennas out, and I know we had one old boy from Bartlesville. I grew up in Barnstall. In between there, he picked a hill up there before you got into Woolly Rock, and he set towers up around there, and he just put the monobams up there and just clamped it to the tower and everything. They're down now. He moved it, but it was remote. He could use it as a remote spot, and he lived in Bartlesville and everything. So he had it up on the hill where he had 4 or 5 towers up there and all different antennas pointed all different directions. Could run them from his house without any rotors on it. But you can use those rotors remotely too. I know a lot of the people using remote and everything. I got a buddy, when he takes off, he's got his station set up remote and uses the new digital DCU3 remote, that Highgate makes boxes so you can hook up the computer, the DC4s. And he's got it hooked up to where he can turn that rotor around while he's off in South Carolina visiting his daughter and stuff. Usually big beams and stuff off of that. So there's a lot of interesting ways that you can turn antennas and everything. And if you want to get into money, you can start doing like this. If you got all the money in the world that you need, start setting up these fantastic contesting stations or whatever. I talked to one guy in Canada. He said at one time he bought some property, had 10 different towers on it and everything, and all used tail twisters and stuff. So it has a lot to do with what you want, what money you have, and how much effort you want to put into antennas and turning and everything. I've had a lot of people ask me, well, do you work on prop pitch rotors? I said, nope, and I hadn't even seen one close enough to even know. And they asked me one time if I knew what the HD 300s, if I worked on high gains ones, and I said, no, I've only seen a picture. Well, I finally got to see one physically Saturday at Claremore, and somebody had one at a table, and I walked up to it and looked at that great big old rotor and stuff. So, and these